go. Let's start cooking because I'm actually starving, so let's get going. So first things first, I want to roast off some tomatoes. So make up a baking dish while I do that. So for those of you who do not know me, my name is Nicole. I am a Toronto native, mom of two, worked in the hospitality industry for years. And of course I love to cook for my family. And so I started thinking to myself how I could be able to, get my recipes out to other people. People would ask me for spice blends, making sauces. I figured once friends of friends started asking me for things that let's just start making it for other people. And so here I am. Today we're making a meal kit. I provided all the ingredients everybody needed, so they have it at home. So everything you see in front of me, everyone has. If you don't have it, don't worry, just watch along. You can always make it on your own at your own time. This video will be available on YouTube at a later date. So this is the meal kit. My first meal kit, we did a Mac Maddy. It's an ode to my now 16-year-old daughter. It's her favorite meal. So it's a mac and cheese, some barbecue beans, and some kale chips. We like this meal. It's hearty, it's wholesome. So for those of you that normally like to have meat in your dishes, it's really nice to kind of have a traditional barbecue dish without any of the meat. So let's start, making. So tomatoes, first things first, let's cut them up. Everything's washed, hopefully, so let's do that. Popping them off the stems. I like to have a little bowl nearby. It just keeps the area kind of clean. You can throw all your trash, your ends. It's a nice little bowl there. So get these off. I'll put this a little off to the side here. So just gonna cut them. You don't have to worry about it being too pretty. They can be in chunks. They're gonna get kind of blitzed down in the frying pan later, so you just wanna get them cut up. We're gonna throw some salt, some pepper on them. Get them on a baking dish, roasting off while we do everything else. It'll be a really nice flavor. These tomatoes actually, I get a lot of my food from 100 Kilometers. They are a company that goes around to a lot of local farms multiple times throughout the week. And they're able to get you nice, organic, local produce. And so I use them a lot of the time. So these are Elmira's tomatoes actually, that everybody has in their kits. And you can also control, I gave everybody a lot of tomatoes because sometimes you want a lot, sometimes you want a little, it's up to you. I'm going to use about 5 of mine. And also, if you don't traditionally use organic produce, you might be used to the produce being a little bit larger. So keep that in mind whenever you are using organic produce. It does come out a little bit smaller sometimes. If you guys have any questions or anything along the way, throw them in there. My little moderator, we'll call her over there. Try and communicate it to me. Especially my fellow cooks. So everything's kind of chopped. Throw in the baking dish. You can line with some parchment paper. You can use aluminum foil if you really, really want. I prefer parchment though. So once you get them on there, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. Throw them into the oven. I have mine at 400. That's normally where I'm roasting. It's on 400, 425-ish. Pepper, salt. This is also a really good way to make soup. So if you're ever trying to make tomato soups, and you're finding they're kind of a little bland, try roasting your tomatoes first. That will make them taste amazing. Okay, so let's move on. So now we're gonna prep for our macaroni and cheese. I like to get that started first because then it can kind of be doing its own thing while you're getting everything else together. Once you get a little more comfortable with these dishes, you can start doing kind of everything at once and make everything come out at the same time. So we will start with our onions. So I like to use shallots when I'm doing mac and cheese. A little bit sweeter, a little bit less pungent. You can use whatever onion you want ultimately, but I find that the shallots really nice to use in macaroni and cheese. I gave you 2. I'm gonna use 1. If you like the heavy onion, then go for it. Slice at the top. Shallots kind of have this natural divide. That's where I kind of follow for my third cut to kind of make it easy to peel off that excess skin that you're not going to use anyways. So end. And you can easily just peel off the outer skin. Now we're going to take each of these halves, give them some long cuts lengthwise, then we're going to dice them down, and then we'll have a nice little consistent cut. I also like to start putting my ingredients away in little bowls. Again, just organization. And I don't do the dishes in my kitchen, so I don't mind if I make the extra ones. So slice, and again, these onions here are from Hillside Gardens, I believe. Again, another local farm. Onions, get the carrots from them. If I start getting ahead of anybody, let me know. If like I'm totally losing you, or you have a question, you don't understand how I'm doing something, let me know.
We have a question.
What's the question?
What temperature is the oven on to roast?
400. You can go up to 425 if you're a little behind and you're trying to catch up. You can go up to 425, but just keep your eye on it and then drop it in a couple minutes. Good luck. I'm turning my light on because we all know I love to forget about. Yeah. Roasting them off is going to get rid of a lot of that moisture that we want to cook off anyways. So again, it's just going to help us with our cook time, as well as give us a nice little bit of flavor as well. We good for that? Perfect. So I got my shallots done. Gonna get my garlic prepared. We all have a nice ball. We're going to chop off our heads. That'll expose our cloves, and we can pop out our cloves, do the whole smash, and then we're going to dice them up nicely. I'm not too crazy on getting my garlic like perfectly diced and fine. I personally love the flavor of garlic. You can always use a garlic press if you don't like to have any kind of chunk or remnant of garlic outside of it being in the dish, and that'll make it a little bit more like a paste for you. So for our mac, we just need about 2 cloves. Like a huge clove, so I'm going to use 1 because it's massive, but I can use 2. So once you cut off the other end, I find that helps peel off the skin. And then you always just got to go with good old peeling off the rest and get it diced down. I like to get everything kind of prepped ahead of time, so it's kind of an easier route of getting dinner done, especially when you're just doing newer dishes. Time can get away from you, and then all of a sudden like you have onions burning, garlic's burning, milk scalding, so many things to go wrong. So it's better just to have all the ingredients done, ready to go, and then you can kind of just sit back, have some wine while you wait for things to be done versus fire alarms. Garlic's done. How's everyone doing over there? Is everyone, all my cooks, are we all keeping up? Are we all at this point? Or can I have some wine while I wait for you? Ooh, and there's a delay. So I don't actually get to know if you're really behind until probably 5 minutes. 4 minutes? 3 minutes?
Tash says to take a sip.
Okay, I say 3 minutes. You're a good 3 minutes lagging time, so I won't even be able to know. So I'm gonna take a sip of wine and wait. So I guess in this meantime, I can go back and tell you, again, maybe some of the motivation behind doing all of this. You know, I think that sometimes, especially like in terms of making meals for families, a lot of corporations have kind of tricked us into thinking that we don't have time for meals anymore, that nutrition is taking up too much time, it's taking time away from our families. You know, aside from breathing and drinking water, you know, nourishment is kind of like one of the key things we're doing. And so I didn't like the idea that it was being treated as something we didn't have time for, or that it was something away from our families. And, you know, kitchens, at least when I grew up, were the epicenter kind of family time. It's where everyone got together, it's where we all talked, it was the loudest, warmest room in the house. And so it would be nice to kind of bring our families back into this idea of cooking meals together, you know, giving those good food habits, showing them that it can be done. You know, you can make it in big batches. If you're a smaller family making larger batches, you can put them to the side, freeze them, make 2 at a time to cut down, you know, on the time, because it can be consuming. But I do think that there's a way to kind of strike that balance, getting good food, local food, organic produce, and again, making family meal time a part of time we spend together, as opposed to be seen as a chore as much as it is. So I'm gonna go ahead.
They're ready to go.
I'm gonna keep her going. Perfect. So onion, garlic. What else do we need to do? Cheese. So cheese. I hate grating cheese. I remember my husband grate cheese, but he's not here. So we have 2 different types of cheese, both cheddar. You can make this your own if you want, and kind of use your own cheese, different types of cheese, Asiago cheese, Gruyere cheese, and goat cheese. We're just using 2 different types of cheddar. Again, from Bright Cheese and Dairy, a local dairy producer here. For those that don't do dairy, you know, there's like, you can use nutritional yeast. I'm totally into new ideas of not using dairy. So if any of you out there aren't dairy enjoyers, let me know kind of what you do. Because I've tried the Daiya cheeses, but they just don't melt. I feel like they don't behave the same as cheese. They don't melt the same, and so I've kind of steered away. If you get towards the end and you have these chunks you can't deal with, I have like a fear of cheese graters cutting your fingers. I just leave the chunk because it can go in the sauce. No, I don't know. So you probably have a little more cheese than you need, but again, I'd rather you have a little more than you need than not have enough. If you're having wine, cut off some cheese, you're good to go. I'm getting pretty stacked in here. Bowl. What else do we gotta do? Another thing I'll probably just tell you ahead of time is, you know, when we're doing these portion cups and like using the different ingredients, if you want to keep your wet cups and your dry cups separate, you don't need to if you don't want to, but if you want to, we're going to use them a little bit later to kind of repurpose them with the kind of extras that we have left over if we have time allowing it. I'm just going to check my tomatoes. Yeah, you can probably good be in there for like, honestly, probably till we need them. Enough cheese. Enough cheese. Another great thing I like about not eating meat is I'm a little less worried about my prep area, like in terms of cross-contamination and using the same knife and using spoons and worrying about where things are and new cutting boards. I found that my prep time's a lot easier now that I don't have that to worry about. And I don't clean the floor either, so.
How long do you roast the tomatoes?
Well, I was just saying, we're probably gonna, I like for them to be, you'll see them brown. They'll start to brown, you'll see that there's lots of moisture is removed from them. I wanna say they're gonna take 20-25 minutes, that's what I'm saying. I think probably till we use them, they'll be in there. 20-25 minutes-ish is what I'm guesstimating. Where are we now? Beans. Okay, let's prep beans. Beans, oh beans, oh beans. So beans, we got onion again. Using a Spanish onion, a little bit sweeter. Again, we have a lot more than we need, but that's okay. So again, cut off the ends. Cut it in half. Use this half. So I probably don't even need this whole other half. We'll cut it down later for prep. Makes it easier for like a dish you want to use later, some an omelet, something like that. And again, I'm not overly worried about this being really beautifully diced. It's gonna be nice, it's gonna be chunky. We're creating almost, I don't wanna say a stew, but that stew type of an idea. So when it comes to our chop outside the carrots, I don't have to worry about it being too fine. So chop her down. We've got garlic. 3 cloves. I'm just gonna use the last of my bulb. You can use as much as little garlic as you want. So again, just cutting off that last little bit of an end. I find that once you cut down, that skin will just peel right off. I'm gonna chop my finger. I'm gonna chop my finger in the middle of doing a lot of it would just be horrendous. So yeah, get the skins off of there. Is everyone doing good? Everyone's keeping up? Everyone's chopping down? Really good. I know some of you pre-prepped, so you're just like chilling right now, and that's cool.
Someone tuned in late, they want you to talk about what you're making again.
Okay, so I'm making, these are meal kits that are available on our website, and the idea is that all the ingredients get gathered for you from local Ontario farms and producers, gets delivered to your door, and then we have the opportunity to either do a live event or we'll also have videos up available on YouTube where you can follow along and we cook a meal together. So this particular meal is a Mac Maddy. So it's a macaroni and cheese with some barbecue beans and some crispy kale chips. And so right now we're just prepping everything, get everything going. We've got some tomatoes that are roasting off in the oven. That'll be going into our baked beans. We've got everything prepped and ready for our macaroni and cheese already. And right now we're just getting the basics done for our barbecue beans. And again, this meal was inspired by my daughter who just turned 16. And her ultimate favorite meal that she always shows up for is a macaroni and cheese. And again, garlic, I'm not overly worried about it being finely chopped, all uniform. Just get it out. Garlics in there. Now we're going to move on to carrots. Carrots again. Some people like to peel them. By all means, peel them. I don't really bother. Obviously, give them a good scrub. Make sure they're clean. But I don't peel my carrots. So again, feel free. Go for it. They were grown in dirt. So. I see it.
MJ's having fun and enjoying a glass of wine with you.
I know, she was the person I was thinking of that got all her stuff. Well, actually, she had her husband prep it all, so she's really the smartest one in this bunch here. So my carrots, again, carrots, I like to make sure that we get the carrots somewhat thin, just because I like to make sure that they get cooked down. And for anyone that's dealt with carrots before, they have a way of being really resilient to cooking applications and stay crunchy. So just make sure you get those cut down. Again, you can make this your own. You can add more vegetables. You can add some bell peppers if you wanted. You can add mushrooms if you wanted. You got different types of beans. I'm just trying to keep this really straightforward, super simple ingredients. Things that are readily available in season right now. So I'm not going to use all of the carrot cutting already, but ridiculous. I'd say have about half a cup of carrots in there. And so my hope is going forward that we can maybe think of some more meals that we would like to cook together. I kind of put out a little bit of a poll, and I think that what I'll do maybe is maybe make a head-to-head challenge type of an idea and get those top front runners against each other and see what we kind of land on and make those the next meal kits that we make available. So carrot. Done. So let's see how we're doing. Tomatoes are done. Tomatoes are still roasting away. Like mine haven't even started to brown up yet. So I'm just gonna leave them in there, keep checking on them. The beans, I did crank them open and I had rinsed mine off. So if you haven't had a second to be able to do that, take a second now. Crank them open, throw them into a colander, rinse them out. Use the same colander you're gonna use for your pasta, and just rinse it out afterwards if you don't have an extra one. So just give those a rinse. I'll give you a second because I didn't do that with you. I did it ahead of time. So to get that done. So beans will be done, and then once that's done, we're starting to cook. So give everyone a second. Make sure everyone's cut up. Make sure everyone has everything prepped. Make sure we have everything ready to go. I'm gonna open even my tomato paste so that we're just completely ready. Maybe get my area cleaned up here a little bit since I gotta make a little bit of a switcheroo. And my fellow cooks, if you're good to go, let me know. Or if there's something you're missing, if you have a question, let me know now, and then before we go forward, so everyone's able to enjoy this. Oh, I almost forgot. My jalapeno. You don't have to use a jalapeno. So if you don't like spice, don't use it. Jalapenos aren't the hottest of the hot peppers. I enjoy jalapenos, so I'm just gonna get her cut down. I'm not gonna remove the seeds. If you like a bit of the flavor but you don't want the heat, you can use the shell, remove the seeds, since the seeds will actually gives you that feeling of being on fire in your mouth. You can wear gloves if you really want, but I don't. Good with peppers. And I will wash my hands before I touch my baby's face. Here's my carrot bowl. Okay, so tie this off. Beans, good. Cheese, stuff. I can kind of do that on. I'm not worried about prepping my Parmesan cheese just because I can just pop it out, do it on top. It's not something I gotta hit up. That'll be for later. That'll be for later. Beautiful. So I'm just gonna get my area cleaned up here, get kind of ready to go, move my cooking station over, and then we'll start cooking. Justin would like to know what I'm drinking. I'm drinking fantastic Oyster Bay Pinot Grigio, straight out of New Zealand. and actually give myself a little top up. It pairs quite well with the macaroni and the crispiness of the kale with the sharp jalapeno flavors that are, yeah, it's good. Okay, so I'm gonna get this started. We're gonna get started heated up. Ooh. Move here. You can see here. This is quite the production here. Okay, so I'm going to start with my macaroni and cheese. I'm gonna get this started on a medium heat. And so for the oven for the macaroni and cheese, I have it on 375. I've got it started now. Assuming you don't have a split oven, it's fine just to leave it because you already have the tomatoes in there at 400. All that's going to happen is once you pop your macaroni and cheese in, you're going to lose heat opening the door first of all, and then you'll just move it down to 375, and then you're good to go for your macaroni and cheese, don't worry. So that's heating up, and this induction's really, really hot. We're also going to get our water boiling for our pasta.
So we only have one oven. What temp is better?
I just said, so for the 400. So leave it at the 400. You've already got the tomatoes in there, so just leave them in there. That's like your preheat. You already preheated pretty much. I have to preheat. So once we remove the tomatoes, we'll drop it down to 375, and you're already at that temperature.
And what size pan? This is the smaller.
So this is my smaller. This is actually a 9-inch. You can do a larger. I get pretty stuck to the top. So if you want a little more space and use a 12-inch, by all means use a 12-inch. Mine will literally get to the brim. So it takes a little bit of comfort with your pan. If you don't have a cast iron, the reason why I love using cast irons is because you can kind of start to cook everything, and then as soon as it's ready for that cooking application in the oven, you can just throw it in. If you don't have a cast iron, that's fine. You can still do the exact same instructions that we're going to do here with a saucepan. You'll just need to have a baking dish to be able to then incorporate the two, if that makes any sense. Yeah, so that's that. So this is heated up. I think I'm pretty good to go. So you can use, I use all oil. I used to use oil and butter. Lately I've been not using as much butter for whatever reason. This will have a fair amount because you're going to be putting the flour in there to make a roux. So sometimes you end up even having to add a little more. The more bang on you can get with your first pour of the butter. So I got my oil in there, it's heating up. Give it a second, then I'm going to put all of my onions and my garlic that I have already together, throw it in there. We're going to mix it around, give it a couple minutes, let it get a little bit soft, almost translucent, before we start adding our spice. For the spices, you'll have some bay leaves in there. Just pop those bay leaves out. Just because we're going to add those once we put the milk in, because you just don't want them to break down. Here. I think I'm good. Yeah.
Ari says hi.
Hi, Ari. Nice to have you. I'm just cooking with me just to show you whether you're big or you're small. He's almost done. He's making this dish with us tonight. So we'll post it later and show you that. If a 10-year-old can do it, then I don't know. Restart the fifth grader. So let that cook. Let it sit for a second. Glass of wine. And yeah, so I don't mind getting my spices going in there. I mean, the sooner the better, right? If you want to add a little bit of cayenne, make it a little bit more spicy, you can do that. There's already a bit in here because I find that helps. If you want to add a little chili, you can do that. It's a little more mild. Just mixing it around there. Once we've got our onions and our garlic nice and soft, your spices will become nice and fragrant. Just give it a second to chop. Like I said, we're going to keep our little portion cups dry from wet separate, so you can reuse them. Is everyone doing good out there? Ari, are you good? You got your onion and garlic softening, you got your spices on there nice. My onions are nice and soft. You're going to see through them. They're just starting to brown up a little bit. And so I'm going to go ahead and throw my flour in. And yeah, just dump everything that's in that package. Just throw it in. So it's already been measured for you. Just dump her in. And then I should probably grab a oven mitt. If you're using cast iron, you need an oven mitt because this is going to be hot. Fairly soon. So just going to mix it around. Get all of that flour coated in the oil so that the flour disappears and it sticks to the onion. There we go. There we go. So can you guys see in my pan? I can't tell. I have a sheet over here. Yeah, you can see. So everything's kind of incorporated. All the flour's off of the sides. You can't even tell there's any flour in there anymore. I just realized I didn't put my milk out. Just give me 1 second. So I'm just going to stick my oven on there because you'll always forget and you'll grab it. I guarantee you'll grab it. So I'm just going to let this cook up a little bit. You want it to kind of brown. You don't want it to burn. You don't want it to be wet. So I'm going to cook up a little bit, let it dry up a little bit, flour really in. And then we're going to put our milk in. Milk, some organic meadow. And you want about half of what I gave you. So I gave you about 1 liter of milk, just use half. I give you a little bit more again for those of you that might be using a larger format of a pan, a little more family, whatever the reason is, you need to do it twice. You have extra, so don't put that whole jar in. You need about 500 ml, so half. Let me grab my whisk. I'm just gonna want to whisk the bits. Just keep it moving. And so once you get your milk in there, you can turn down your heat a little bit. So you're in a medium heat, medium low, because you don't want to scald your milk. Moving, get all of your bits broken up. You're going to still see your onion, you're going to still see your garlic, so don't go crazy, like you're not going to get rid of those. I just want you to incorporate and get the flour to soak up some of that milk, and it'll be a nice thickener once everything starts cooking. So once you've got everything kind of mixed in there, nice, you toss your bay leaves back in. Get mixed around, and we're just going to keep moving her around. And then once the milk is warmed, we're going to start adding our cheese in. And hopefully my pot's boiling. My pot's not boiled water yet. My normal induction, it has like this great function of power boost. You just hit it and like in 30 seconds your pot is boiling water. So this does not have that. And I figure most of you don't have that function on your stove, so I would anticipate that your water's not boiling either. If your water is boiling though, toss your whole package of the tubetti right into there and it'll be done in like not even 3 or 4 minutes. Remember, it's gonna go into a sauce, it's gonna be cooked again, so you don't gotta be worried about it being overly cooked. And again, it's a fresh pasta, so it's not gonna take 10 minutes like the traditional store-bought would. So again, if you're boiling, throw your pasta, salted water, throw your pasta in there. Don't add oil to the water. I know a lot of people do it because the idea is that the pasta won't stick together. And as true as that may be, if you're putting oil in the water, then the oil is going to be on the pasta, and then the sauce also won't be sticking to your noodles. So I don't put oil in my pasta water. So again, water's boiling, do that. Mine's not boiled. I feel like mine's never going to boil. It's the worst. But yeah, I put a lid on top because a lid obviously captures the heat. Hopefully it makes it happen a little bit faster. Let's keep moving our milk here. If you don't keep it moving, it could separate, which isn't the end of the world. It's happened to me before, and I've served it to my family, and they're fine. So it's not very culinary, but sometimes you just have to. But yeah, if you just keep it moving, you whisk it all together, you're fine. It can get a little skin on the top sometimes if you're leaving it for a second, but that should just be able to be stirred right back in. The meat's been incorporated right. So I'm just gonna grab my pasta while everything's heating here and while I'm waiting for my water to boil. I'm checking out my tomatoes. They're starting to, a couple of them are starting to crisp up a little bit. But like nothing to call home about. So I'm gonna keep them in there. Maybe give them a little mix around. And again, if we don't get to the point where they're like totally done, it's fine. We're gonna keep them down even more. We're just killing time right now if I'm doing it in the oven. Okay, so we're still waiting for this. Waiting for my water to boil still. This is warming up nicely, so we're eventually going to start slowly adding our cheese. I'm going to lower it even more because my sauce is getting a little ahead of my pasta here. In our pasta, we have the spaghetti pasta from Farina Pasta. I love using Farina pasta. I've been using it for years. Dominic, who runs it, is amazing to deal with. And so yeah, you guys are all able to have this fresh pasta here. I love fresh over anything else. It's good for a week in the fridge, and if you put it in the freezer, it's good for 6 months. But we'll be using the entire package, so that's that. I so want to lift this lid just to see, but I know it's not just an okay process. It's not lift the lid. So yeah, this is getting nice and warm. If you want to fish out your bay leaf now, you can. I leave it in there to the end because for some reason when you incorporate the pasta, for some reason I find, I might be wrong, it's my luck, but in the years I've been cooking, the bay leaf comes to the top. So that's my strategy. I was just leaving it all the way through. So I'm going to get a couple of nice handfuls because we're going to slowly incorporate the cheese. You'll notice that the level of the milk will also rise as well, so that's why. Oh, we've got boiling water. Beautiful. So my water's boiling. Let me know if your water's not boiling yet. We're way off. Again, we can slow it down a little bit. My guess is that I should be where I am. Doing? Is everyone all on pace? Ari, how you doing? Tajana, how you doing? Miss MJ, how you doing? Sarah, are you hanging in there? Tasha, are you enjoying the night off? So my sauce is already starting to thicken with the cheese, with the thyme, with the flour. I already see a nice thickening happening here. So I'll add a little more cheese, a nice little handful. And again, you can get those chunks that I was afraid to chop my fingers off with in the sauce because so yeah, pasta won't take long. It's hard to keep timing, so 47. Okay. 3-4 minutes max. Whatever pasta you're using, you can use macaroni. Anything that has something that can kind of catch the sauce, that's what you're looking for.
Jonah says her sauce is coming together great.
Amazing. I don't know how much this mac and cheese is.
And MJ's getting hungry.
I came here hungry. The quicker we can get this done, friends, the better. The tomatoes are definitely starting to lose a lot of the moisture now. There's probably 25% of them now are starting to get browned up. I think I'm not too worried about it because it seems like it's going to hit timing perfectly in terms of when we want to do all this. As soon as this is done, this meaning the noodles, mac and cheese is done. Let's get my cheese. This looks nice.
Tash and Ari says it smells so good in their house right now.
Ooh, speaking of our house right now, let me just open this. It smell like love. That's what we're cooking, guys. So this is going down. Pasta's almost done. 2 minutes. So 1 more minute with my pasta. I'm going on the lower end of it all for 3 minutes because, like I said, it's going in pasta, it's going in sauce, it's going in the oven. It's good. We're on time. Alright, I'm going to take off my pasta. The sauce is almost ready. Anyone in my way? Get out of the way. Move the hot pan. Oh yeah, this is going to be so good. So off you go. So I'll drain this. Got my pasta. I'm gonna throw it in here. I'm not worried about getting some of that pasta water in there. A little starch didn't hurt anybody. Good. I'm just gonna. I work from the edges in. Work my sauce into the middle, picking up the noodles on the way. Alright, get that, see? There's my bay leaf. The only responsibility you have is to remember how many bay leaves are in there. So I feel like that's the natural sign of nature being like, you've mixed your macaroni, you're good to go, your bay leaves look so best. And now we just add some cheese. So the rest of my cheese, right to the edges. A little bit of that Parmesan cheese right on top. I like to add a little bit of pepper. You know, the chili flakes, you can put breadcrumbs. Just put pepper on cheese, on cheese, on cheese. And so if you're doing the one-upping gig, you can pull your tomatoes out, put them to the side. You're fine. We're gonna cook it down. Just to prove that, I'll just pull mine out too. And pop your macaroni and cheese in. So you can see mine aren't even totally like brown yet, but they're so dehydrated that it's just gonna help the cooking process along. Ooh, it's hot. Cheese. And then cancel that. No, that's not going in there. Move you, 375. If you need a timer to remember, do it. Half an hour-ish, you should check. You're gonna want it to be golden brown, bubbling. If you like it saucy, don't put it in as long. My daughter loves a nice crust on the top. She won't eat it otherwise, so it gets closer to like the 40-45 minute mark. So since that's done, let's move on and start our beans. So I like to use my big cast iron. I find if you're trying to stretch it, you can add more tomatoes. You can add more vegetables. You can add a little bit of stock at the end, and it makes a bigger portion. If you're a little more rich, then you can cook it down the way that we're doing. So I'm gonna get my pan, my cast iron, started here on like a medium heat, medium high-ish heat. And let that go.
Damien's looking forward to eating.
Yeah, Damien's always looking forward to eating. If it were traditionally, he'd be here picking and eating things already. So while I'm kind of waiting for this to heat up, I'm just going to tidy up a tad. I'm just going to kind of toss it in here. I don't need this anymore. There's my can opener. If you need to open up your can of tomato paste, get that opened now. We've got everything prepped. We don't need knives anymore. Yes, we do for a little. You still need your knife. Don't get rid of it. Mac and cheese is gone. This is good for tomatoes. You need one right there. Get rid of my whisk. Get rid of my cheese grater. Madison, there's dishes for you. Ooh. Okay, so that feels very hot. Okay, so I'm just gonna add my oil first. In there. You can tell I have 2 dry and 1 wet. Portion cups. For those who are doing it. Oil's in there. It won't take very long to heat up. You're using a cast iron. You're gonna get everything. I just dump everything. The carrots, the onions, the garlic, the jalapeno if you're using it. Everything can go. Get all my spices in there. Again, this is something that if you want to kind of spice it up more, add a little bit of chili. If you want to add some cayenne, do that. Be careful because the cayenne, when you use it, it's hot, yes, but once you cook it for longer, the longer you cook it, the hotter it gets. So keep in mind that we're kind of stewing our beans for a little bit here, so it will get hotter. If you want a little bit of heat but you don't want to mess with it, use chili powder. Chili powder is just a blend of what? Paprika, black pepper, cayenne. So it has that heat, but it's not just hot. If you want it to be a little more smoky, you can add a little more paprika to it. If you like for it to, I don't know, a little more mustard, you can add heavy mustard. If you like sweet, you can add more sugar to it. You can really start to make this your own. You can use different types of hot pepper. Really like wheat Scotch bonnets, obviously, are one of my favorite peppers to use. Yeah. So my spices are in there. Onions in there. It's going to need a couple minutes to kind of reduce down. Again, you want that kind of like soft, translucent. You want the aromatics coming through. So I see someone wants a recap. So we're about probably halfway through now. So we're here, we're just actually making a meal together. So I have what's called a meal kit. You purchase it on my website, and all of the ingredients, which are locally sourced, get sent to your door. We then are able to either join a live event like this, which we'll probably try and do every once in a while. I think we'll get a feel for how much people enjoy this. But for all the meal kits, we're going to have not only the step-by-step instructions that come with your meal that are delivered to your door, but then we're also going to have YouTube videos that you can watch. on Instagram Live, you can watch it on YouTube. We're gonna have a lot of different ways that you'll be able to access these recipes along with the cooking tutorial. So that you don't just have to be able to read along, you can have someone there with you explaining things. Trying to just maybe lend some advice that I have in terms of timing or organization or why I do things the way I do things. I'm not going to be the expert, but I do think make decent food. People like it, they come back.
We have a question.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to add all of the small cups or just the spice up?
Or just the
Spice up?
spice up?
Well, they want to know if you're supposed
You should just have the oil added in your spice cup, and then your carrots, onions, and all of that. If you're talking about your mustard and your maple and all that, that's coming in a little bit. So leave that to the side. So you should just have your oil in there, your carrots, your onion, your jalapenos if you're using them, and then the little spice jar. And so, with all that being said, today we are making a Mac Maddy. So we're making macaroni and cheese, barbecue beans, as well as some crispy kale chips. And so we've already got our macaroni and cheese done. It's actually cooking off in the oven right now. We're just now starting our barbecue beans. And then we have kale chips in here. And how's everyone doing? Is everyone keeping up? Are we all watching them slowly become translucent now? Yeah, I can smell my hot peppers in the back of my throat now, so I know that they're getting to be ready to go. That's my indicator to traditionally. When you smell it being done, that's when it's done. So I've got this cooking down nicely. So the next thing I want to do, I want to get my tomatoes in there because we want to get those cooked down for 5-10 minutes, somewhere in that range, just until you start to almost create your own ketchup. Basically, that's what we're doing. We're creating a ketchup pretty much to make a nice sweet sauce tomato kind of base without just grabbing a tube of ketchup and throwing it in there. So I got my Open up my tomato paste in there. And then I'm going to get my tomatoes. I don't find them very hot, but you might not want to touch them with your hand. You can get just like tongs. The tongs are going to use, you can use those. Again, we're using all veggies, so you don't have to worry about the cross-contamination. Regard. I wish I could just like roll this out in front of me. Okay, so we're mixing, we're moving. Again, this is going to be hot, so put a little glove on the end here, and then you won't burn yourself, hopefully. So again, we're just going to cook it, cooking it down. I made the mistake, actually, yesterday. I made the mistake of for some reason I just didn't, I don't know, I can't tell you why, I did it wrong, and I put everything in and then I put my tomatoes in. If you do that and you don't cook down your tomatoes, you're going to run into the issue of tomatoes dehydrating into your baked beans. That's not the end of the world. Then what you have to do then is double up your spices, double up the mustard, double up everything that you put in afterwards, and you're going to get a much more like soupy version of what you're going to do. It's great if you want to beef up this recipe. So if you're trying to make this go, which is meant for probably 4 adults, or it could be like 2 adults, 4 kids, maybe. But if you're feeding like 2 adults and like 4 grown children, or like 6 grown people, or 8 maybe even grown people, do it that way, and take a much bigger portion without compromising the flavor. So yeah, this is gonna need a little bit. I'm gonna have some wine. Is there any questions? Are we all here? Are we at the point where we're all just kind of waiting for these now to kind of stew down? My mac and cheese hasn't even started browning. I see a bit of a skin. But yeah, nothing's going too crazy here. I'm in sign language or something. I don't know what he's trying to say. Milk?
Beer.
Oh, beer. Beer. Hold on. The work of a woman is never done. One second, I just gotta serve.
I have a glass.
Oh, he's gonna. He's gonna. Isn't he so cute? Yeah, you don't get to see for about 3 minutes, what they say. Okay, so we're cooking. Here, don't worry. We're good. I was saying that once your tomatoes start bubbling, that's when we're gonna start adding everything else. We're gonna start adding the sugar components to it to help that caramelization of the tomatoes. So, I'm adding my mustard. This is Coslicks Mustard. Again, another local company. Fantastic products. You can put the whole thing. You can put more. You can put less. If you don't like the grainy mustard, I don't know what's wrong with you. You can use just regular mustard as well. But this is the best flavor. So with that, I've got coconut sugar. I've been using this a lot with cooking lately, and actually one of my good friends who's going to be this nutritionist was letting me know how great coconut sugar can be to use in recipes instead of traditional white or brown sugars. So we got the coconut sugar there, some maple syrup, again local 100% amber maple syrup. Everyone's just joining back in. And then we're just going to mix it all around. I'll give you guys a second. You guys are all getting back in here. Hopefully by the end of this, a little snippet will be done. Okay. So yeah, we're just gonna let these tomatoes cook down with all the extra ingredients, the mustard, the maple syrup, the sugar's in there. We're gonna let that cook down. You get the nice sweet fragrance off of it. And we're just caramelizing this. Nice sweet flavor.
Cocoa sugar and syrup now.
If your tomatoes are bubbling. My tomatoes start bubbling. Like I said, you're gonna look for that tomatoes to be bubbling. Once they're bubbling, throw them in there. Mix them around. We're gonna still keep cooking them down even further though. Beauty.
That smells good.
Yeah, it's starting to smell good. Now I'm really hungry. And again, if there's ever a time for this to give us a little lull, this is the time because everyone's waiting for tomatoes to cook down. Nothing crazy is happening right now. Our macaroni and cheese is still cooking away. If yours starts to brown and crisp faster than mine, pull it out, pop it on the side. You need it to set anyways, so don't worry about that. I'm still waiting for my tomatoes to cook down a little bit more. Like I said, I want it to be almost back to that paste consistency before I start adding my tomatoes in. I mean my beans in. That's what I meant. Tomatoes love salt, so I'm just putting a little bit more salt. If you're low sodium, if you don't mess with that, you don't have to add more. You're not gonna get an ultra salty flavor from this, like tomatoes suck it up. So it's adding a little bit more salt. Yeah. And get a nice aroma off here. So now I'm gonna add.
Question. Have we used the vinegar yet?
No, vinegar's not in yet. We're waiting for the vinegar to go in. I was just about to put the beans in. Once we get the beans in there, then we're gonna put the vinegar in there, mix it back up, and start to reduce it down even more.
And the paste?
The paste has been in there with the tomatoes, yeah. all the tomatoes went in at the exact same time. Paste went in, your roasted tomatoes go in, we're reducing those down. Once those started reducing down to being a bubble, looks like a bubbling on your frying pan, that's when we added all of our mustard, the maple syrup, and the coconut sugar. And then we're just now working with that for another, I'm gonna say maybe 2 minutes. And then I'm gonna start putting my beans in there. Yeah, we're just trying to get rid of as much of that moisture out of the tomatoes as possible to just concentrate the flavor. If you don't have fresh tomatoes, you can always use diced tomatoes. You can also not do this on the stovetop and bake it off in the oven with the macaroni and cheese. If I'm with fresh tomatoes, it's nice to cook them down on the stovetop though. You can maybe get away with that a little bit easier with diced tomato than a can. Alright, so mine's going back to like a thick, can you see? Paste. So it's like back to being thick again. So I'm just gonna add my beans and all that. So I got the black, I got the kidney beans. Again, Cullen's beans, fantastic local purveyor. He doesn't have any of the traditional additives that canned beans would have, which would be like shelf stabilizers and colorants. There's not in there. So that's traditionally why you steer away from canned beans and do the good old soaking overnight for 8 hours, and then you cook them off for like an hour, hour and a half depending on the bean. But this just gave me that time back. Again, you're able to support local as well as keeping really, really good ingredients in your dishes. So my beans are in, they're incorporated. I'm now gonna add my vinegar. So some apple cider vinegar. Acid really helps not only break down the bean in terms of your digestion, but also helps with the tomatoes as well. Always like to have some nice acid. So even like in my tomato sauces, I always have a vinegar, balsamic vinegar. Needs it, that and the sugar really help. So yeah, we're mixing, we're rolling. So now we've got this paste. Now what we're gonna do is that we're gonna add about a cup of water. Basically, you just want to add a little bit of moisture. You can make this a broth if you want. Just let me get a little bit of water in here to create a boil. So I'm just gonna grab some water. And so now, so we have like this nice kind of like stew, not a stew, I don't want to say that. It's nice to take this, all this liquid is going to go away. So we're going to bring this to a boil. Once it gets to a boil, we're going to pop a lid on it, turn it down, let it simmer out for the rest of this cooking duration, which should be about 15 minutes. My mac and cheese is starting to get a bit crispy. It's definitely starting to get a boil to it, but I want to get a little more crispy because otherwise I'm not a simple crispy. So if you don't like it so crispy, you could pull it according to mine. But it's good to go probably another 5-7 minutes. So this is coming up to go pretty quick on here. Let me get a lid for this. It's bubbling. And I'm bubbling, so I'm just gonna let it bubble a little bit. Tomatoes love high heat. And pop the top on here. Bring the heat down to about a medium, and then we'll just keep staying on top of it so we're not scalding the tomatoes. But I like to cook tomatoes as high heat as possible. If you feel like you can't keep your eye on it, of course reduce it down because you don't want to burn it. But the higher the heat, the better. I find that really helps condense the flavors. So that's being done. Mac and cheese is moments from being complete. So last thing to do is the kale chips. So we've already got the kale already washed, so I just need to get my baking sheet and then we will get this figured out. In terms of letting y'all see it. So I have lined baking sheet. Your oven's gonna go up to 400. Once you pop your macaroni and cheese out, you're gonna turn it up. So again, you only have one oven, it's not a problem. You're good to go. Again, that's happening quickly. So I'm gonna go grab my kale. And this kale's from Hope Produce. I got another local purveyor. You can chop it up by all means if you'd like. I just pull it off. Pull it off the stem. I don't eat the stem because the stem's bitter and hard and unpleasant. If you eat it, go for it. I don't. So just again, pull. And I find that it naturally creates chips because obviously coming from opposite sides. The end maybe you might want to rip in half, but you should be pretty good to go. I can smell my mac and cheese, so I'm gonna say my mac and cheese is probably done because that's always my indicator. Yeah, she's nice, she's golden, and she's brown. So I'm just gonna finish this one and pop the mac and cheese out. Glove, please. I lied. I'm gonna sit from a vegetable. Just literally 1 minute. It's just not quite there. I have a really particular child. Kale. Kale's coming off. How's everyone doing? Is everyone with me? Is everyone feeling like they're almost done dinner?
Ramsey status, basically.
I mean, I watched Ramsey fillet fish once, and I was like, got it. And then I tried, and it's not as easy as it makes it look. So, hats off to you, Ramsey. So yeah, kale's great. It's one of those really great foods that my daughter happens to actually really enjoy. So anytime she wants kale chips, we have kale chips. Vitamin C, vitamin K, they help you with absorbing. I don't eat meat. We're pescatarian for, I want to say, better part of 5 years. I could be wrong about that, but I want to say 5 years now. And a part of eating iron outside of meat is that you have to eat the right things with it for your body to even absorb the iron and the protein that you're eating. So part of that is eating the right leafy greens, with the right vitamin C, just to help with your absorption of the actual iron and protein through your meals. So these kind of dynamic pairings are necessary sometimes, just in terms of maximizing what you get out of your meals, along with it tasting amazing. So, is everyone good for time? Are we all good?
Donna is still cooking her bean sauce.
Yeah, you're cooking your bean sauce. Your bean sauce is still, I'm still cooking my bean sauce. This is gonna cook until we're done.
Is she supposed to add water?
You can add as much water as you want. Sometimes, if I'm in a hurry, I won't add any water. I'll just keep cooking down that piece and serve that, because it tastes delicious. If I have more time, which I do with you guys right now, I added not even a cup of water, just to give it a little bit of something to cook down for the next 15 minutes that we're cooking, not even now. So yeah, my kale's all broken up. Some pieces are big, some pieces are small, whatever. Spread it out. Okay, my mac and cheese is complete. Mac and cheese is bubbling. Ooh, can you hopefully not? There you go. See it? Pretty, beautiful, hot as a mother. Okay. That's a sit for 10 minutes. If you try digging into your mac and cheese now, which my husband always tries to do, one, you're gonna burn your tongue, and two, it's just things just need a second to kind of meld, mellow, for you to get the good flavors from it. So chill out. Let the salt sit, okay?
CG, Nat would like to know if the kale is supposed to be dry versus a little bit of water on it.
Your kale should be dry. But let's get real, I don't always have time for my kale to be beautiful and dry. Sometimes if that's the case, you can take your wet kale, toss it in the oven for 2 seconds. Like when I say 2 seconds, I mean 2 seconds, because you're just gonna evaporate some of that water off. Pull it back out, then do this little bit of spices on it. And I find that kind of helps. Like mine is a little, like I have a couple pieces that might have a little bit of moisture, but it will stop it from crisping up. So yes, you do want your kale to be dry. Like I said, if you find yourself in a pickle, sometimes what I do, spread it out, nice, beautiful. Throw it in the oven for 2 seconds, let some of that moisture come off of the leaf, pull it back out, do your dressings, pop back in, then crisp it up. So my oven was at 375. I'm gonna pop it up to 400 so that I can cook it. See, how is it? It says it's already ready at 400. My question, Samsung, is if I was just cooking at 375 and I put it up to 400, why is my oven already at 400? But anyways, kale.
Someone accidentally put their spice in with their beans.
There's spice in with their beans. You should have spice with your beans. You spice everything.
What's in the kale spice? I accidentally put it in with bean sauce thinking it was mustard.
What? So you put
MJ.
the chili flakes and the salt and pepper into the bean sauce? If that's the case, because we're delayed,
She wants to know.
it might be very spicy, but you're fine. It's a little bit of salt, it's a little bit of pepper.
She wants to know what to put on the kale.
It's the crushed okay, yeah. So you'll be fine. Might be spicy. That's it. Again, you're stewing it, so I might say don't stew it as long because those chili flakes will get hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter. Or just keep a temp. Crisscross is good with spice, but the kids. So just keep a temp on your spice. That's that. For the kale to replace it, you just need salt, pepper, and crushed chili flakes. That's it. Simple. Just like a and like it's and then I don't know what that equals. You know, you get portions. So yeah, oil, drizzle it on. You know what I do because I did it to you guys. High, do it nice and high, guys. Be nice and high. If you do it higher up, you have more success. If you do it low, it'll be on one piece of kale, and that's it. So you got that. Again, you got your spices. It's salt, pepper, crushed chilies. Again, if you guys ever wonder what's in these spice blends, you go back to the little info packet that I put into the box with it. It will tell you what's in all those spice blends. Not only to be able to, like, again, in the situation where you used something wrong, you lost it, you misplaced it, you dropped it, you're always able to recover that recipe that way by getting that in there. No secrets here. So again, nice and high. Tongs, toss them around. Again, get a nice little layer. You want everything getting cooked, and these won't take very long, so keep an eye on them because they do burn. We're gonna do a little toss about halfway between. I say no more than 10 minutes. They're in. Mac and cheese looks amazing. My bean sauce, again, is still, my beans are still cooking down. I'm gonna remove the lid now. Let them finish up. And yeah, just shy of getting these kale chips done. We're golden. So where are you guys? Where are you at? You should definitely still be reducing down your beans. Like I said, those are gonna go to the last minute. Kale chips are only gonna take a minute. The great thing about these dishes, again, I gave you all the ingredients. You can use what I've given you. It's going to give you an amazing meal. But the great thing about this, especially once you get comfort level there, or if you're already kind of there and you're just looking for some meal ideas, you can make this your own. You can, again, change the cheese in the macaroni. You can use blue cheese. You could put other ingredients in there that you enjoy, some lobster or jalapenos, or you can use breadcrumbs, again, the different types of cheeses, to make this easier on you if you don't have access to fresh tomatoes, or it's just not ideal, or you don't have the time to be reducing and roasting and doing all these things. Some diced tomatoes, that works just fine. You can bake the beans. You don't want to be standing here stirring, reducing. Again, I could do this with you guys because we have the time. I wanted to do a couple more things rather than standing over the stove. I would have created this mixture at the same time as my macaroni and cheese, and I would have popped both into the oven at the same time and walked away. You don't have to roast the tomatoes. You could just cook them off. It does take longer. Again, these are all, you can use different types of tomatoes. You can use heirloom tomatoes, you can use plum tomatoes. You just use regular field tomatoes right now. Yeah, it's easy-ish. So yeah, tomatoes, beans, sorry, are still reducing down. You can see your sauce on the sides, you just see is like actually thicker now. Again, hard to kind of see in here. You're getting back to that paste idea. We're removing all the water. You can see all the steam coming off of my tomatoes here. That's just the water being removed. So we're just looking, get rid of the water, get rid of the water, get rid of the water. We have the top on there for a little bit just because I want to condense in the flavors. We put a lot of things in there at once, but now the top back off, and again, we're removing that liquid again. Kale chips. Smell them again. You smell that kind of nutty flavor. Let's do this. Okay. And they're nice and they're bright green, which is nice, but you want them to be crispy. So it's going to take probably just another 3-4 minutes. Not even. Sometimes if my kale start to get ahead of everything else, I'll just turn it off, and then they kind of slowly crisp on their own. But they've got a couple more minutes. What I'll actually do now, since we are eating this as our dinner, I'm going to actually get Raymond, you just saw, he's going to eat with us. He's on his solids now. And so I just take our dinner, one's up for him. So I'm just going to get his prepared so that we're all ready. Again, this downtime you can spend cleaning up. I'm going to clean up a little bit. I don't have too much left over. You can cut down. Like I said, I was going to show you how to do it, but I don't even have the time to do it now because we're pretty much on time. Take this off. Got my cutting board. Chop her down. Use one of these portion cups. Throw it in there, and you're good to go. Once you get this meal done, which we're pretty much there, like I said, I'm gonna blitz down Raymond's dinner right now. And then I'm gonna start plating. We're gonna start enjoying this. Enjoy this meal within 4 days. Pack away the extras. If you want to freeze it, it'll last even longer. But I doubt you're gonna have much left in this summer. All right. Is everyone pretty much here? Are we all like feeling like we're pretty much ready to plate? Let me know if you're not. Let me know what you're having trouble with. Let me know where you are. If you've got ingredients left on your table that you're not sure where they were supposed to go. We haven't touched our lemon because that's going to go on the kale at the very, very end. That's the last thing we have to do. Lemon. I'm just going to chop off the end here because I just need a little squeeze.
How long do you leave the macaroni?
The macaroni and cheese was maybe in half an hour. Like I said, if you don't mind yours being a little more soupy, like I don't want to say macaroni, like a craft dinner, but like a soupier type of a deal, you can have it in for about 30 minutes. My daughter likes hers really crispy on the top and a little bit less saucy, so we put ours in about 40 minutes. I just cut off the end here of the lemon. Once the kale's done, put it on top, which my kale looks like. It's almost done. Yeah, this is done. I'm just gonna grab Grady's dish. Or bundle it, and I like it. Okay, so I'm just gonna take a scoop. Coffee too. Okay. Puts it down, and then he's got dinner and lunch tomorrow.
Good question. Can we do 28 minutes on 28 minutes and then turn it on broil so we get the crispy on top?
Yes, you can do that. What I would question though is that if you just need to let it keep roasting because you don't want it to be too liquidy at the same time. If you can see that it's really set in the center, like you move that pan and it's stiff, you just want a crispy top, absolutely throw it on broil. If you see that it's still got a lot of moisture in there, I'd say leave it in the oven a little bit longer because you really want it to kind of form and solidify a little bit more than that.
2 more questions. Can you throw the mac under broil?
Under
Broil.
Yeah, you can throw the mac under a broil, absolutely. Mine naturally, because closer to the element, already kind of broiled it up. But you can absolutely, if you feel like, again, that mac and cheese is set, throw it into the broil, turn it on, but keep your eye on it because broil is a direct heat and it will burn very quickly if you're not keeping an eye on it.
And was I supposed to put the sugar in the beans?
Oh yes. Your sugars sugar's supposed to be in the beans. You wanted to put that sugar in when we were reducing down the tomatoes and we added the mustard and we added the maple syrup. If you haven't added it, throw it in now. It's still gonna have a caramelizing effect. But what we wanted to do is have that sugar in there from the beginning to really create a nice earthy, warm, central flavor there with the tomatoes. Again, if you like yours more of like that maple, like some people like that really strong like maple barbecue bean, you can throw way more maple syrup in there, maybe a little maple chips, maple sugar, maple. That will make it taste great as well. I prefer a spicier, smoky barbecue bean since you have that kind of rich, savory macaroni and cheese already. So my kale chips are almost done. I'm gonna say they are done. I'm gonna pop them out. So you see they're bright, they're green, but they're crispy. I don't know if you can hear that, but they're crispy. So we just put a bit of lemon. Yeah, nice and high, nice and high. Guys, we're done. Get your plates. I'm gonna get my plates. I got some people to feed. They're watching me hungry. Again, enjoy this right away. Put it away for future meals. Have it for lunch. It's good for 4 days max. You can put it in the freezer and get a little bit more life out of it if you like. But these kale chips, eat them all. That's it. They're not gonna last. Just enjoy today. All right, let's do this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. This wasn't too bad. Hope you have a great night. I hope you guys enjoy your meal. I hope you guys go ahead, order the meal kit. Mac Maddy is still available for you on the website, so you can purchase it. You can access this video. We'll also have a much shorter, condensed instructional video that you can access on our YouTube channel with links in the bio at Cole's Kits as well as at It's Cole's Kitchen. I would love if you subscribe, follow our pages, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, the whole thing, and stay tuned because we're going to be doing a lot more meal kits. We're going to be doing a lot more of this interactive cooking experience. I think it's a great way for us to not only socialize and experience seeing each other in this time when we've been told to kind of stay away from one another, but we also get to feed ourselves. We get to learn new skills. We get to get more confident in the kitchen. And before you know it, I wasn't lying around the block wanting to eat your food too. So again, thank you for joining me. I appreciate everyone that makes purchase of the kits. I hope you enjoy your meals. Take pictures, post social media, tag us, let us know how you enjoyed it. Until next time. Bye guys.